Also dealing with a squatting crisis. About 1,200 homes are currently occupied by trespassers, and there's not much homeowners can do about it. Now, Georgia lawmakers are trying to take matters into their own hands, making squatting a criminal offense. And so is our next guest, anti-squatter activist Flash Shelton, joining us now. First off, thank you very much for joining us. How do you explain to people how someone can take over your house and legally be allowed to stay in it when you come pounding on your own door for them to get out?
Well, I mean, there's such a blurred line between tenant rights and squatter rights, and because of the way the law is, perceived, it's allowing people to, set up residence in a home. And sometimes I've run into situations where the family just went on vacation and come home, and there's someone there, and they claim that they have a lease. The laws are just so vague, and law enforcement is not allowed to, figure out who is a tenant, who is a squatter. So with the absence of that, they just have to say that they live there, and law enforcement has to, their only option is to refer it to civil court.
All right, I want to dig into more of that, because I still think it's just an incredibly confusing thing to think. You go on vacation, somebody trespasses and enters your home, starts living in it, and then you legally can't do anything about it, like call the cops and say somebody's in my house. This is just some of what we're hearing from some of those squatting victims in Georgia. They spoke to our own Lawrence Jones about their problem.
How did you get in the house, though?
They showed us the house, gave us the keys and everything.
So do you think that you were scammed as well by these other people?
Yeah, they told us we were scammed. Police told us we were scammed.
They've actually broken into the property, putting these ads on Craigslist, and then they're taking people's money for a deposit and rent, and then they don't get access to the property. So that's another thing of them getting scammed.
All right, now my mind is officially blown. So the squatter is claiming to be the victim as well. Some of these squatters are saying that they were told that they could occupy a house that they didn't know was already occupied?
Yes, I mean, that is something that's happening. People talk about like online Craigslist, things like that, and they are a victim. But just like if you receive a stolen automobile, that car is still taken from you. The house should still be taken, and they should be going after the person that conned them as well. And it is common.
So as far as this, Reform Act to cut down on the problem, they want to clarify that squatting is criminal trespassing. Again, seems obvious, but needs to happen. Make squatting a police matter, not a civil court case, which it is today, and make any fake lease an additional crime. So do you think this is going to work? I mean, I think some of us are shocked to know that this is becoming such a big problem and a trend.
Yeah, so all of those things that you mentioned are things that I have talked about and proposed. One of the things that will make it successful is there has to be a clear distinction between squatter rights and tenant rights. There has to be, basically it needs to be a criminal offense, and I agree, it needs to go to the courts.
So, Flash, what do you say to somebody who returns to their house? I know when I was listening to Lawrence Jones do that reporting in the morning, something that stuck out to me was people who return to their home to learn that somebody's living in their home and trespass to do so. It can be a very dangerous situation. That person might fight back if you try to gain entry to your own home. So what do you do if you find a squatter in your home?
So, I want to say, first of all, it's property, so you should never be risking your own life. I always promote and say, call law enforcement. That's the first thing you should do. Have them come out and assess the situation. But as soon as they tell you that there's nothing they can do, look for alternatives. Reach out to me or someone like me that, is educated in this area and trained, and see what your options are.
It is an incredible development. We'll keep watching that. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.